Welcome back to the channel. Once again, we're going to just be drafting the big board and discussing some things. The Not a whole lot happened so far today. So, not a whole lot to talk about. And the location error, I believe, is still happening, so I'll see, make sure that it's still doing that. Yep. All right. Waiting on 9. I went through earlier today and messed with some rankings a little bit. I moved Jordan Mason up even more. I I'm still not a fan of Blake Corum, but I did move him up to ADP. I moved him way down past ADP because he was falling, and now that his ADP has kind of stabilized, I moved him back up. Welcome, Victor. Nice to see you again. So I don't want to be out on Blake Corum anymore. I heard last week that Blake Corum was listed under Sean McVay's like player like stud players on offense. It was Puka, Higby, Kyron, and Blake Corum. I think it was McVay. It was McVay or the OC, somebody on the team. So maybe they don't draft a running back, and if they don't draft one, Blake Corum is probably a really good pick. So I but he's one player I moved, and it looks like it's going to take a while. Since that's going to take a little bit, I will actually just go to my rankings and kind of go through what I done. I'm going to bring it up on my phone so I can see when it fills. So, the one thing that did happen today is Cam Robinson, a really good offensive lineman, signed with the Texans. So part of the reason I moved Nico down below CD and Puka was because I was a little scared of that offensive line. That means that they at least understand and know that it's an issue. So I've moved him back up. I think he's the him and Puka, like I'll probably flip flop them back and forth, but I like both of them more than CD. Another thing I did is so the more I'm thinking about it, I think there's a pretty solid there's a top 11, and then after those 11, after Amon, and I personally kind of count Genty and Bowers, like I think that's a definite tier. And then Genty and Bowers are, I believe, kind of by themselves next. And then probably like Achan, but like I don't consider that tier much higher than from all the way down to like where DJ Moore goes. So I feel like from DJ Moore all the way to Ashton Genty, it's pretty up in the air. Like I don't think you're insane if you would take DJ Moore at the 1-2 turn. I mean, I think it's bad purely because at the beginning of the cycle, DJ Moore was going at the 3-4 turn, so you're just going to go against better teams or teams that have more players at the top. But like if you were to move DJ Moore up into I don't know, like where Lad McConkey goes. Like I think that's fine. I like if you were to move Lad all the way up to where Bowers goes, that's fine. If you were to take JSN up where AJ Brown is, I think that's fine. I think it's pretty fluid, and there's not a big enough like Bucky Irving going at the 1-2 turn would be that's what you call flipping the board. Like so you move him up there, and then your whole like since he's been going at the 1-2 or the 2-3 turn the whole season, like you're gonna get a unique pairing. So like if you want volume on any of these people, like Genty, Bowers, Achane, London, Henry, Brown, Taylor, McConkey, Higgins, you have to take them all around where their ADP is. But that doesn't mean that it's an egregious thing to move Jonathan Taylor up above Ashton Genty and take him up here. Like that's perfectly fine. And yeah, the more I thought about it, and I'm out on Christian McCaffrey. I think there's too much risk. Like, but if you are in on Christian McCaffrey, like he's up in there. But as you see, I have him basically at the bottom of that group. Um, Other moves I made, we are one away from being full. Chuba, I moved him back up a little bit since his slide it seemed to stop a little, but I moved him to right in front of Rome, and I moved Chris Godwin way up. Like I made the bet early in the season that Godwin wouldn't resign or that he wouldn't resign for as much money. I'm going to correct that by overdrafting him a little bit now. And then right here, all of these wide receivers, like I'm kind of out on the entire what Pittsburgh's doing as a whole. I moved him down an entire round. If he falls, if he falls to like where Olave and Addison and them are off the board, I'll be willing to take him. All right, draft is now live. But that's just a couple things that I've done that that I like, or that just a few things I've done with my rankings. At the 101, we have Pollock, that is best ball guy. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. He puts together a pretty good stream. I've seen Roster Street everywhere, and I'm not familiar with the rest of the people here. So we drew the 109. I kind of love the area from like 6 to 11. I like I said, I fully believe that after Neighbors Amon, whoever that last receiver is, that there's a drop off. And I think basically from JJ all the way back, like including the running backs, all the way back to Neighbors, it's incredibly like flat. Like I don't think it's bad if you take Neighbors at the 2 spot at all. So I really like being on this end because then you have a better chance to get the Genty or Bowers, which I believe are the best 2 picks like in this area. I'm fairly exposed on those players right now. I want to actually start getting a little more Devon Achane. They also so I was kind of worried about their offensive line. What I had forgot about, and Off the Schneid mentioned this the other day, that the tackle they have coming in is I'm feeling the link Neighbors, but the tackle they have coming in is was drafted in the second round last year. So, and he actually came in near the end of the season, I believe, and looked pretty good. So, hearing that makes me like, number one, I should have done more research. I should have been in on that. But number two, like, it makes me feel a little better about every Miami piece because their offensive line wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't great. And so much for that plan of Achane being that guy. And I might go ahead and do what I've been doing a little bit and flip this board a little and take a T. Higgins here if Bowers does not fall. If Bowers is there, I just take Bowers. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead, pull T. Higgins up, do that once again. It could be wrong. Like, so the thumbnail today was Ladd McConkey, and I do feel like Ladd is getting a little bit of a lot of people just don't like him. And I've went over that before about how I believe it was because his original price was at 13 and it's dropped all the way to like 21. It was a little higher than like it doesn't matter what Ladd's price is as long as he's below this top tier, this top 11. I'm willing to pay whatever it is and be around 8 to 10%. So, and I brought up his stats so we could go over that. Like in this game, you want spike weeks. You want big, like potential for big burst of points. In the last, after his bye week, which was week 5, from week 6 to 18, and he had 29-point games. He had one in week 8, and he had another one in week 17, which is the actual week you want it. And as you see, his lowest was 14.7 in the playoffs. So he had 2 games with 2 touchdowns. He had one more game with a touchdown. But as you see, and I believe this is full point PPR. Yeah, this is full point. But like, he's just peppered with targets. And he's gonna have some volume. They didn't go out and get anybody like a like an elite player. There's still a chance they could bring Keenan Allen back or Steph Diggs. I don't really think that would affect him that much. And Mike Williams is a very serviceable outside threat and will let Ladd do whatever he wants. And part of the negative part about Ladd going into last year was people thought he was just a slot receiver, and he has proven that that is not correct. Although, like most receivers, if they work out of the slot, they do, like, they're more productive. That's just a way of how defenses are designed. Like, their worst corner is usually the slot corner. So, but if we go back to, I'll go back to that, or I'll go to a different thing. And like Ladd had 1,180 yards, I believe, last year. And Brian Thomas, who everyone loves, had 1,200 and some. So they're not that far apart in on stats. Like I still like I'm not saying they're the same player by any means. But okay, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and take a Lamar here. Yeah, I think I feel like taking Lamar. And hopefully Chase Brown makes it back around. I assume that Polak will take Chase here. Actually, he probably won't. He'll probably try to push it. So, and if he doesn't, if I get Chase Brown here, I'll definitely be willing to take Burrow at 57 or 64. So we'll go back. We'll go to this chart. So Ladd 1,149 yards. Brian Thomas 1,282. So yeah, they are on a different tier. But like if you look at the spike weeks, they had the same amount of spike or nuke weeks. BTJ had 2 more spikes and 2 more usable weeks. So Ladd's floor is lower, and we know that. But Brian Thomas Jr. is an elite player. So comparing to him, like he compares reasonably well with one of what could be potentially one of the best wide receivers in the league this year. All right, the plan came together. T. Higgins flipped the board, get Lamar for the possible Week 17 pairing, have Neighbors there. This is exactly what I want. And if Polak doesn't take Ja'Marr Chase or Joe Burrow, I will probably, depending on who's there at 57, I might just take him at 57. I might just take him at 64. And with if I had Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, I can definitely just stop at 2 quarterbacks and ride the rest of it out. He's probably going to assume that I will pass on Joe Burrow since I took Lamar. But who knows? And I mean, it also depends on what value falls. Like, I wouldn't be in need of a quarterback. I'm actually surprised. Like, Jonathan Taylor has been falling down here a little bit more. And this happened last season where the running back started really high. And as it got closer and closer to the end of contest, wide receivers just push up further and further up the board. I see that kind of happening this year as well. Okay, so looking at this board, Rashee Rice goes at 39. That's a pretty aggressive pick. He usually doesn't go there. So I don't hate it because Rashee Rice, he never makes it all the way back to this pick. So I do not dislike it. And he's got the Ram stack here. And Bowers with Rice will be a little more unique because Bowers usually goes on this end and Rice goes on this end. So I kind of like that. I haven't thought about doing that, but I do like what they are doing. I assume this will be a wide receiver and possibly Joe Burrow. He doesn't have very many, I believe he picks at like 2 and 3 a lot, but not at 1. I love pulling Chris Godwin up there. Like I was just saying, going through the ranks, like I moved him way up my ranks. And I believe he did the same thing. I believe he also sat out on McMillan, or he was in on McMillan, assuming waiting to see what contract Chris Godwin got. Because we talked about that last night a little bit in his stream. I still can't get behind Zay Flowers there. He only had Lamar threw 41 touchdowns. I don't know if Lamar's going to throw 41 again. And with that 41 touchdowns, Zay only had 4 of them. So if Lamar throws 5 less, that probably means Zay's ceiling would be like 7. And I mean, seven's good. But let's go look up Zay here. Because I don't know. Yeah, he had 1 really big week and then only 4 spike weeks, but a bunch of serviceable weeks, and 6 weeks he didn't even put up a startable score. So he doesn't you can have a bunch of weeks of not having a serviceable score, Well, so much for the Joe Burrow thing. This guy, Bijan, Terry McLaurin, JSN, George Kittle, then just naked Joe Burrow with, I guess he's going to get Mike Gesicki later. All right, so I don't have any Chris Olave with Chase Brown, so we'll go ahead and do that. I actually really like Rashad Bateman this year. Bateman, I believe, had like what 9 touchdowns last year. They used him in the red zone. Yeah, he had 9, and then Andrews had 11, and both of those players will be back. That's half of the touchdowns that Lamar threw were to those two players, and those two players will be back. He already trusts those two players in the red zone. I don't really see Zay's share getting better than that. Like, I don't think, like, as an actual football player, like on the field and how good the player is, Zay Flowers is amazing. The problem is that offense, like, doesn't ever feature. Like, they've never. Last year, Zay Flowers had the most yards ever for a Lamar Jackson wide receiver, I believe. Hollywood Brown was close to that. I don't think Lamar has ever had a wide receiver over 1,100 yards. And that was one reason I was out on Zay Flowers last year as well, when he was going even earlier. Now, over here, it's an arguable pick. I kind of think he needs to fall another entire round, and I think at this back end, he would be a fine pick. All right, so one pick to go. Based on my rankings, I would be taking a. Really don't want. Do I just take David Montgomery? Do I take Quinshon? I don't take Quinshon because he just went. I'll go ahead and take David Montgomery. He had a little bit of a knee issue last year at the end of the year. When he came back, he wasn't fully healthy in the playoffs. I'm going to assume that since he came back, that by the time the season starts, he'll be fine next year. But he's not a ceiling play either. So Chase Brown could be, but with these two running backs, I feel really good about my every week starting ability. And I'm probably just going to take some shots on some explosive style, like some players that if they hit heavy. Like, I'm not talked about Caleb Johnson before, but if Caleb Johnson falls to 81, I'm totally into taking him. He's the kind of player that, like, number one, that's where I think he should go. And number two, if he gets the right landing spot, he's the kind of player that will, like, has the potential to be one of the guys you need in this season. Jawan Jennings, I really like he was getting some steam. He goes over on this end quite a bit. Hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. But he usually goes at the other turn. Started on this turn. I had a couple teams early in the draft cycle where I took Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall on this end, and those felt really good. Calvin Ridley, Jayden Reed. So at this point, he's hoping that Baker Mayfield makes it all the way back or that Caleb makes it all the way back. He's probably not going to get DJ Moore or Caleb because DJ Moore drafted right there without a quarterback. I was at the one hole in a draft with him last night, and I almost got shut out at quarterback. Uh, it was pretty rough. The guy in the two hole actually auto drafted J.K. Dobbins when I had Drake May, Justin Fields in the queue, and they were upset because they wanted a quarterback there. So I actually ended up getting both of them. It felt pretty good because I thought I was going to be just one of those and with no stacks, and everyone was gone. I was going to have to get like them, Cam Ward, and Shador or something. Matthew Golden, pretty much an instant click for me at this point in the draft. I like him more than Luther Burden. He has elite upside. He, to me, I think he kind of looks more like a Ladd McConkey than anybody else in this draft. His footwork is pretty good, and his ability to run and find open spaces is really good. But he's also faster than Ladd was with less injury concerns because Ladd coming out of college had some injury concerns. So I fully expect him to be going kind of where Tet's going after the draft. I personally think he's just going to be the first overall run or the first wide receiver taken. Yeah, I think I don't know. Do I just take Mark Andrews? I know I don't take Cooper Kupp. I think I just go ahead. I'll take Mark Andrews here. Pull him up the board a little bit. I don't mind moving somebody up a little bit. I like Hawkinson better, but to secure the Lamar Jackson stack, I'll go ahead and do that. And then if Bateman makes it back to 112, like maybe even 105, I might just double stack Lamar and be good with that. And then take a late round, like a Shador, assume that Neighbors gets Shador or a Derek Carr late in the draft. Brandon Ayuk goes to 79. I've been seeing him fall down the board quite a bit more. And that's, I wasn't paying attention. That Travis Hunter at 85. That might become more common. That's a gigantic move. Like his ADP is like 110. He moved him up basically 2 full rounds. If this guy watches Best Ball Guy streams, he knows that Hunter probably wasn't going to make him past this area. Baker goes. We'll see if Caleb goes at 94. If Caleb doesn't go at 94, he definitely goes at 96 or 97. I can't believe that he took Joe Burrow right there. Yep, Caleb Williams goes. So he's probably just going to go ahead and take Jordan Love here with Jaden Reed, which is perfectly fine. It's a little early, like on the end, either end right now with the way quarterbacks go and people doing this, taking 2 in a row. If you're on either end, you pretty much need to secure somebody. Oh, he went with that route instead, pushing Jordan Love. Yeah, that's fine. Push Jordan Love, and he still could take him, but you take a Kirk there to set up another possible stack. taking Tyler Warren. Okay, yeah, that's pretty smart. So he took Christian Kirk here to set up a possible CJ Stroud stack, and he took Tyler Warren, assuming that maybe the Jets take Tyler Warren, and then he could take Justin Fields here. So he has three possible quarterbacks that he could stack there, and then he still has Tennessee, who we assume will be Cam Ward later. So he's leaving him when you can't get a guy, build out. You want to build out more options of guys to get. Like he almost definitely would have taken Baker or Caleb. So since that didn't work out, it's instead of panicking, he went ahead and just built out more options. And that was that's probably the right move instead of taking Jordan Love. Because if you're doing 150 of these, all you need is one. Like there's only one that's going to win the whole thing. So trying to push the quarterback and getting him back is much more valuable than just taking a guy. If you're only doing a few drafts, it would make more sense to make sure you build really solid teams. If you're drafting in volume, maybe not so much. I haven't really taken any. Do I just take Shaheed here? I think I'll go ahead and take Rashid Shaheed. And I'll be good without Bateman. And if Pacheco makes it back around this corner, I'll get my very first Isaiah Pacheco share this year. A player I was very high on last year. And he actually didn't even look that great. He looked okay at the beginning of the season, but he didn't look great. And then when he broke his leg and he came back, he just got outplayed by Kareem Hunt, who Kansas City has re-signed now. So I personally believe that KC is going to take a running back. And if KC takes a running back, they only invested a 7th round pick in Isaiah Pacheco in the first place. So I'm pretty out on that as a pick. And I might not even do it if it falls back here. I they signed Elijah Mitchell, they signed Kareem Hunt. I don't think that they're going to go into the season with Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Elijah Mitchell. I don't think that's going to be what they do. And I can absolutely be wrong. Well, there goes that idea for him. Pacheco goes. Thank you, Blue Star. You're now one of my heroes. I could take Kelce here, who I also don't have a lot of. Or I could take. I think I'll go ahead and take one of my only shares of Travis Kelce. No real reason, just that feels okay at tight end. I'll almost definitely add a third. I'm still not sold that Kelce isn't just done this season. There was some plays last year where he caught the ball and he looked really slow. And his ability to move after the catch and create the little wiggle that would get him extra yards or get him in the end zone, it kind of seemed to be missing a lot more. It was pretty visible to me. Maybe I don't know what I was looking at, but to me, he definitely seemed slow. I mean, I think he's 34? I don't know if they have ages on here. They do not. But yeah, I mean, that's just, I have a really hard time taking him. But the main reason I took him there is because last year Kelce was going in the fourth round and Andrews was going in the fourth or fifth round. So looking at last year's ADPs, going into last season, if you had this pairing, you would have felt insanely good about that position. And you have to basically put no capital into it this year. So, all right. CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, fantasy footballer. That might be, I think I know who that is. But CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Mike Evans. Like, he pulled Mike Evans up. I do that a little bit. I love it. Tet, Joe Mixon, Najee. Najee all the way up here. I kind of think that that's where he's going to end up. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I still think they're going to add somebody. Aaron Jones, and I already had quite a bit of Najee Harris when he was at over here at the 96, 97. See, that's exactly what I thought he was going to do. He takes CJ Stroud, Justin Fields. He set that up. And we don't know the. And even if Fields is unstacked, that's perfectly fine. If he's going to be good for you in fantasy, it's not going to be because he's a great thrower of the football. So back to this. Baker stacked, Dak stacked. Just a really solid team. My team right now, where am I at? 2 picks away. So Kelce and Andrews, Shaheed, Golden, Olave, Higgins, Neighbors. And 2 running backs, Chase Brown, David Montgomery, and Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Think I'm just gonna steam him up the board. Jordan Mason, mispriced right now. I think I'm just gonna start taking him here. Almost every draft. Aaron Jones is a solid running back, but he has the injury problems. And I want to get my exposure up on Jordan Mason. I was out on McCaffrey, but I also wasn't taking any Mason because he was supposed to be a free agent. And I had 16% Isaiah Garendo at that time. Basically, I wanted to just put all of my McCaffrey shares into Garendo at a much lower cost. And whenever Mason got re-signed and then traded, I actually like the Vikings spot for him. The Vikings only have 4 draft picks this season, so they're less likely to add somebody in the running back room. They could. I don't know if it'll be an early draft pick if they do, though. So his backup role is very good, and he had the number 1 missed tackles force last year in the NFL. All right, so do I want to take Keon Coleman's share? Trey Harris? I don't know. I think I'm kind of in on Tajay Spears here. I'll go ahead and take Tajay Spears. One of my older running back rooms that I've built. I do think that Tony Pollard's a very good pick, but I also I like Pollard and Spears this year. If they get Cam Ward, which seems likely, they've invested a little in the offensive line already. Their offense will be significantly better by just not having Will Levis at quarterback. Like there will be growing pains with Ward, but he has a little bit of rushing ability too, which should help the running game with Spears and Pollard. And both of them can pay off. I last year going into the season, Brian Callahan was saying he wanted it was going to be a 50-50 between Pollard and Spears, how he liked both of them. And Spears kind of had nagging injuries early, and Pollard was really good. So when he came back, he had to work into a role, and then he got hurt again. And so he never really carved out a role. With that being said, Pollard at the end of the season ended up being out, and Tajay Spears had two really big games. So going into the new season, who knows what'll happen? I'm going to assume he takes Cam Ward as well. Yep. I like that team. The number one skill in this is being able to adapt when things don't go the way you want. Like building yourself extra outs, extra ways to have a team that makes sense is pretty good here. Like I might just go ahead and like I want Derek Carr pretty badly. I have a double stack. I'll probably just take him at one of those two picks, assuming that he's still there. And if not, I'll probably cry a little. It'll probably be pretty bad. All right, so I still like Dallas Goddard a lot. I know there's trade rumors, but he was really solid last year, the entire season. Like while he was healthy, like he missed some games, but man, I think he was tied in one when he got hurt, and when he came back, he was good again. So getting him this late, like even if he has trade rumors, like if a team trades for him, I'm gonna guess they have a plan for using him, right? Like I don't think a team's gonna trade for him and then have him on the bench. So a player who I originally had ranked at like 115 or so, going on average at 135 and getting him 15 picks past that at 150, like yes, I want that. Now, if Bryce Young makes it back around, I might just go ahead and take Bryce Young naked. I guess, I mean, Sampson's the player I really want. But yeah, if Bryce Young made it all the way back around, I might. And what is this guy doing? Looking at where all the quarterbacks are going. All right. Got Dylan Sampson back. I'll take that. I'll queue up the player I want next round. And queue him up just in case he falls and somehow Derek Carr goes to the Alvin Kamara team. Derek Carr very rarely goes at like this pick, but only having one quarterback and everybody wanting three quarterbacks in these, we got three there. We got two here. No, three. Got one there. Got one here, Josh Allen. Got three here. 3, 1, or 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, and 3. So we're probably like we're getting close to running out of quarterbacks. I mean, if you do the math, if 8 teams have 3 quarterbacks, that's 24 quarterbacks. That means the other 4 teams they have to guess the starting quarterbacks exactly. So with the way that the quarterbacks are going off the board in this, like even if I don't get the guy I have the stacks for, I think I just take that one too. Like this feels pretty bad, honestly. And the player right in front of me, what does he have going on? He has I don't know, like he kind of needs another quarterback. He definitely needs one, and he knows I'm going to take one, and he knows I want. If he's looking at it, he knows that I want Derek Carr. So if he doesn't want Shedeur Sanders, he has to take Derek Carr here, and he almost definitely is going to want to. I guess this player has 3. This player has 3. But this player probably wants another one as well. So just gonna hope that this works out. Well, I get one of the 2 guys. So hopefully it's the one I want. I don't actually assume he's going to take. If I were him, I would have looked at the board and I would see that I need a quarterback. All right, so quarterbacks are done. Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson. Feel pretty good about that. Double stack with Olave and Shaheed. I have Mark Andrews as the solo stack for Lamar. And my tight ends are done with Lamar, Kelsey, and Goddard. Running backs feel pretty solid. Chase Brown, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, Spears, Dylan Sampson. Wide receivers, got to build out some depth now. But I have Malik Neighbors, T. Higgins, got Unique, Chris Olave, Matthew Golden, Rashid Shaheed. So I'll just shut off those other positions. I don't need any more Damian. Like, I'll take Martinez if he makes it back. Um, I know I've talked that I don't really love Jalen Royals, and this isn't a me pick. There are some people that I absolutely trust, and one of them is Steve Smith Sr. He released his top 10 wide receivers of the class, and I think that he just they gave him the top 10 wide receivers listed over all the websites, and then he ranked those. That doesn't mean it's definitely his exact rankings, because I'm assuming the people at the bottom may be pushed off here soon. But he had the Tet at 2. At 1, he had Golden. At 3, he had Ibuka. 4, he had Luther Burden. At 5, he had Jalen Royals. So him being the one of this group in the back end that I don't click that often, like I'm still at 7%, but the one player the one person I trust the most when it comes to wide receivers actually believes in him. And he said some things that makes me understand why I didn't like him as much. He was saying that he believes that the wide receivers coach at Utah State was basically teaching him things, like teaching him bad things. So because I guess all the wide receivers there were doing it. I'm assuming is what he's seen, and so that'll have to get coached out of him. But as a prospect, he really likes Jalen Royals. So one thing I do know is Steve Smith Sr. probably knows a little bit more about NFL wide receiver than I do. Like, I'm going to guess that he has a little bit more of an idea on what to look for. Dalton Schultz for the double stack. He's built a pretty good team over here. Built, what, 5 really solid wide receivers with 2 running backs. So I have 2 rookies here. If Wandell or DeMario makes it, I don't take much of either one of these players, but I'll take one here. Like, Wandale doesn't have, like, it's a little bit of a team stack as well. So I guess I didn't even notice that. I could have taken Shador as well. I wasn't even thinking about that earlier. But Shador is possible to go to the Giants, which would give me Malik Neighbors. That would have given me another double stack or a double stack. But Olave, Shaheed, and Derek Carr is perfectly fine. A player I'm going to take a few more shares of is Raheem Mostert. I moved him way up my board. So now I'm done at running back. But Mostert wasn't drafted in the first half of the contest. Got signed to the Raiders. The Raiders have Amir Abdullah and Zamir White. I do not believe in Zamir White at all. And Amir Abdullah is, or oh no, it's Sincere McCormick. I don't know if they have, Amir Abdullah anymore. Anyway, but he's basically the only running back they have that I like at all. So getting somebody in the in the 18th round that is one of the only players I like on that team, or the only player I like at that position on that team, like that feels fine. I do think that Brian Kelly or Chip Kelly will make that offense much better. Chip Kelly offenses always run high pace, and they also run the ball a lot. So, yes, they'll move people in and out. But even with Devon Achane, rookie breakout, Mostert scored, it's like 21 touchdowns that year. Let's look it up. He had 18 touchdowns that year, which you give me half of that, and you give me 9 touchdowns in this last round. You even give me like 7 touchdowns at this point, and like I'm ecstatic about it. And you're telling me that a team with Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, a new offensive coordinator, won't have a couple weeks where they score 30 points? And if they're pushing the ball down the field and with high pace, it's very possible that one of their running backs is going to have a multiple score game. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with Mostert because I do believe that Ashton Jeanty will end up with the Raiders. Like either Ashton Jeanty or Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, like, are almost, in my opinion, are almost definitely going to be on that team. So I think I feel pretty good about these running backs. Love these first 2 wide receivers. And then I have a really good group down here. Tight ends are fine. Quarterback is fine. So I kind of have free picks here. I think I'm just gonna add two wide receivers. I've been taking a lot of Trey Tucker lately and having Mostert. I'll go ahead and build out the team stack a little bit. Hopefully. And then I haven't taken Tez Johnson in a long time. I might click him in the last round. Anything else that's interesting? I mean, I don't have Mason Taylor with any of these players. I think this team is built well enough. I can afford a fourth tight end. Like, I don't see any running back that I definitely want. Like, Keaton Mitchell would be fine. Like, I've taken Keaton Mitchell a few times with Lamar. Let me find him here. I guess I've only taken him twice with Lamar. But yeah, I think I'll just take a rookie tight end if he makes it. If not, maybe I just go with Keaton Mitchell. But I feel pretty good about where this team has landed. So nothing like taking the entire clock in the last round. All right. Team is complete. We have a 2-6-8-4. Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr. Lamar Jackson or bust, basically. Chase Brown, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, Tajay Spears, Dylan Sampson, Raheem Mostert. Malik Neighbors, T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Matthew Golden, Rashid Shaheed, Jalen Royals, Wan'Dale Robinson, Trey Tucker. And then 4 tight ends, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, and to bring the age down of the room, Mason Taylor. Like, I know it doesn't bring it down much. That's a really old tight end room. So, I went from 31 average age to 29 or something. Inject some youth in there. That's what we need. All right, well, thanks for coming out, and catch you later.